Democratic presidential candidates faced off in their final debate before primary polls in 2 states. The main battle unfolded between frontrunners Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Though Clinton is not new to this, it's her second presidential race. But when Sanders announced his bid, it didn't draw all that much attention. The media, for the most part, simply ignored him. His supporters have even coined the phrase Bernie blackout. They're calculating how much airtime has been given to his campaign on America's major TV networks. In the last year, he has received just 10 minutes of coverage on 3 of the main channels, ABC, CBS, and NBC, as opposed to almost 4 hours for Republican candidate Donald Trump. Now, that hasn't stopped Sanders, though, from gaining support. In Iowa, he even has a 5-point lead over Clinton. While in New Hampshire, a vital state when it comes to each party choosing their presidential candidate, more than half of those asked said they would vote for Sanders. We're now joined live by political cartoonist Ted Rowell and Jerome White, a former presidential candidate for the Socialist Equality Party, joining us live here on RT International. To both of you, good morning from Moscow. Thanks for joining us here. Hillary Clinton praising her experience during the debate. Let's have a quick listen. Stand by. Have a listen to this.
As someone who has a little bit of experience working in the Senate, what I did as Secretary of State.
Well, Ted, over to you first. How solid is her track record?
Well, Hillary Clinton was a senator from New York starting in 2000, and her main accomplishment appears to have been voting for the war in Iraq. She certainly didn't have much of an didn't do much for the people of New York while she was in the Senate, and I don't think she has much to brag about there. And if she had, I think we would have heard about it from now, and we did not tonight, certainly.
Jerome, do you have anything to add regarding the track record of Hillary Clinton? Obviously, she's been in Washington for quite some time now.
Well, the presumed front-runner for the Democratic Party has a lot of blood on her hands, as the previous speaker said, in supporting the war in Iraq, the extension of wars in Libya, as well as in Syria. So the extent of her experience is protecting the interests of the same billionaires that tonight all of the candidates tried to distance themselves from, defending the billionaires' interests in foreign policy, that is.
All right, guys, just hold on one more second here, because during the primaries, Bernie Sanders, well, he's not been spared of the criticism. Gentlemen, for a second, have a listen to this.
He cannot be nominated. He cannot be Hillary Clinton.
He's a long shot.
A long shot.
I don't think he's going to be taken too credibly.
He's 73 years old. He looks 91.
Apparently, some folks really want to see a pot-smoking socialist in the White House.
Bernie Sanders is a socialist, for God's sake.
Instead of cutting Social Security, we are going to expand Social Security benefits.
What a rational, slightly left-of-center, mainstream politician.
I got 6 Doberman Pinschers going to go for Bernie if I see him.
Apart from the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, there are an awful lot of abuse being shoved at Bernie Sanders, a pot-smoking socialist. Ted, your thoughts?
Well, I don't know about the pot smoking. I just recently finished researching a biography of Senator Sanders, and one interesting aspect of his personal history is that he didn't seem to have much interest in drugs whatsoever. I would say that Senator Sanders, it seems to be defying all the expectations. It seems that even in Iowa right now, the vast majority of Iowa voters under the age of 35 are now identifying themselves more as socialists than as capitalists, according to a recent poll. And Bernie Sanders seems to be benefiting from that. Look, right now, if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on Bernie Sanders to win the Iowa caucuses, and certainly New Hampshire as a primary. South Carolina could go either way. But there is now a credible path to the Democratic nomination for Bernie Sanders. I think a month ago, nobody would have said that. Things have changed. Hillary Clinton certainly had this nomination to lose, and now it seems like she might be in danger of doing so.
Well, it certainly seems there is this growing surge, perhaps towards Bernie Sanders. Jerome, over to you. Bernie Sanders is ahead of Clinton now, according to the polls in 2 states. Is it getting increasingly dangerous for Hillary Clinton, do you think, Jerome?
Well, in fact, the Sanders campaign has very much been an effort to corral the growing movement to the left of workers and young people, a radicalization in the working class, and to contain it within the Democratic Party. He has repeatedly said that his whole role is to channel the excitement of his campaign and to help elect a Democratic president. So far from being a genuine socialist, when he criticizes the billionaire class, of course he supports a political party, the Democratic Party, which defends the billionaire class just as ruthlessly as their Republican counterparts. Just this Saturday, he was on the Stephanopoulos show, and he distanced himself from remarks that he made in the 70s in which he called for the nationalization of the oil industry and the nationalization of utilities, policies that would have been adopted in the early 20th century by those who call themselves socialists, and he distanced himself from
potentially opening up a can of worms there, Jerome, considering the sheer amount of energy contributions when it comes to U.S. presidential campaigns. One more time here to Ted. Bernie Sanders appears to be popular among the young people, I suppose, with the younger generations. What is the appeal of Bernie Sanders, Ted?
Well, I think authenticity. This is a year that seems to be dedicated to authenticity, both on the left and on the right with Donald Trump. It's a matter of opinion as to whether Donald Trump is actually authentic, but he's certainly in the form of authentic. Bernie Sanders really is authentic, at least, I think the interesting thing about Bernie Sanders is that he really has been in the same place for the last 50 years politically, and I agree with the other speaker that he is likely to, within the constructs of the system, betray the very people that he believes that he's speaking for, but because that is the nature of the system itself. But he certainly is authentic. He believes what he's saying. And
so a lot of people are saying he's authentic, he's the real deal, he's the people's man, and the man of the people, so to speak. Certainly as we were watching the debates, though, in recent hours, the debates in South Carolina are also turning rather personal. Let's have a quick listen to this, guys. Stand by.
Lehman Brothers, AIG, the shadow banking sector, I go after them.
You've received over $600,000 in speaking fees from Goldman Sachs in 1 year.
Bring in the big money here. Jerome, over to you. How close is Hillary Clinton to Wall Street in your view?
Well, of course, she's very close to Wall Street, as was her husband, whose administration repealed Glass-Steagall. But look, there is an immense social and political vacuum in the United States. After 25 years of endless wars, explosive growth of social inequality, the imperviousness of both political parties, capitalism is becoming a dirty word. And clearly Sanders is seeking to tap into this anti-capitalist sentiment, the favorable sentiment towards socialism, but he's not a socialist. I mean, his foreign policy, and he reiterated it tonight, he had no complaints about the $600 billion Pentagon budget. He just complained about where those priorities of that military budget should go, more for the fighting of ISIS, endorsing completely the phony framework of the war on terror, which has been used by both parties to mobilize endless wars in the effort of the United States to overcome its economic decline by conquering the world. And he completely accepts that framework. And as I said before, you can't claim to be opposing billionaires in America when you're supporting the foreign policy interests of the billionaires in conquering the world.
All right, Jerome, let's pass this question back over to Ted Rall as well. How close do you think, Ted, is Hillary to the big guys on Wall Street, the fat cats?
Well, I mean, she was on the board of Walmart for years. I mean, Walmart is the most notorious anti-labor, anti-worker corporation in the United States, the largest employer in the U.S., virulently anti-union, and she was never against that agenda whatsoever. She did accept $600,000 in direct speaking fees from Goldman Sachs, and that's not even including the campaign contributions that she received from Wall Street firms. So yes, she and her husband Bill Clinton certainly you have to tag her for the fact that she supported NAFTA and the WTO and GATT and all these free trade agreements that were playing into the hands of transnational corporations. There's no doubt that she's a big corporatist. Whatever his fault, and there's no doubt Bernie Sanders has his faults, particularly on foreign policy and on militarism and imperialism. Bernie Sanders is definitely not, by American standards, in the hands of the corporations.
And that may be a big political game changer, potentially. Political cartoonist Ted Rowland, Jerome White, a former presidential candidate for the Socialist Equality Party. Gentlemen, both of you, thanks for joining us here on RT International.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, TV channels might not be fond of Bernie Sanders, but two major American magazines are. That's Time and Rolling Stones. Both put him on their front covers last month, and despite being 74 years old, he appears to enjoy support among the younger generation.
You are really resonating with the youth movement out there.
I mean, it's you and Beyonce, basically.
See someone who's going to come forth and really speak his beliefs. I like his philosophy of equality for all people. Bernie Sanders is the first politician that I've ever paid any more attention to than just to say they're a puppet of the corporations.
Feel the